Hello and welcome to the new plant series for 2021. My name is Jessica and I work at the Verona location of K&A Greenhouse. Today I will be going over new ornamental trees for this year. The first new one that we have coming in is a flowering dogwood called Samaritan. Last year we had one called Wolf Eyes that had the variegated foliage like this one does. This one is actually a little bit hardier for our area. So I figured zone 4 was better than zone 5. So we'll be getting this one in instead of the Wolf Eyes. This one will get 20 to 25 feet tall and about 15 feet wide at maturity. It's not a really fast growing tree, so don't expect it like a pagoda dogwood will fill in pretty quickly for you. This one's a lot slower growing, especially because it's a variegated form. Most variegated plants tend to be a little bit slower growing than most other plants. Full sun to partial sun is best, and it does not tolerate really wet soils. So make sure you have an area to put it in that will be able to be drained between waterings. And hopefully we won't get a lot of rain, too much rain this summer, like a few summers ago. The flowers arrive typically in May, and then you can see the centers. Those actually turn red, and those are the berries of the tree. And this one also gets kind of a pinkish red fall color in October. So the growing habit on this is a vase shape, which you can see depicted in that right hand photo. It's more narrow towards the trunk, and then it branches out like almost like the American elm trees typically grow. This one, as I said, is zone 4, so it's a little bit better for us here in Wisconsin. We have two new crab apples. The first one is this one called Robinson. I was not able to get pink spires in, which is pretty much a staple for us every spring, which has this light pink flower color. So that one is coming in later in the summer if that one is the one that you're particularly interested in. Otherwise, we have this one called Robinson that blooms right around Mother's Day with all the other crabapple trees with the light pink flowers, and it has the standard green foliage. It won't have the darker foliage like some other ones will. This one you can see even from the photo, it's a very wide tree. So this is 15 to 25 feet tall and about the same width. So you're going to need a fairly decent size space for it to grow in. So it doesn't, grow into your house or other, garage or something like that. Full sun is always best for crabapple trees. They like full sun to be able to flower the way that they should. And this one, of course, gets the red berries in late summer. With Robinson, the berries also persist through the winter, so that means you'll have the berries on it all winter long. The migrating birds feed on them in fall as they head down south, and then robins and other migrating birds that come back here in for spring and summer, they'll feed on them again in the spring once they've been hanging on the tree all winter long. The hardiness zone on this one is a zone 4. And the other new crabapple was actually bred right here in Wisconsin. I believe it was Johnson's Nursery that came out with this one. It's called Gladiator. It's more of a columnar growing habit, as you can see from the photo. 15 to 20 feet tall yet, but only about 8 to 9 feet wide. So you don't need quite as much space. It's better for the smaller city lots if that's something that you have. Tolerant of most soil types, but again, full sun is still best for flowering. It does have that kind of what breeders call purple flower. It looks kind of rosy pink to my eyes, and then it has that darker leaf on it where it's dark purple in spring, and then it kind of fades to an olive green color in the summer. And this one also will get red berries that form in late summer, but unlike Robinson, they don't hang onto the tree all winter long. So they typically are either eaten by the birds or they drop to the ground in, I would say, in November. So October, November is when they start dropping off the tree. Hardiness zone on this one is a zone 2, so it's very hardy for anywhere here in the state. A new maple that we're getting in is called Hot Wings. Most people don't want a maple tree with what they call the helicopters or whirlybirds. Technical term is samara, so it's basically the seeds of the maple that are that bright red color. I was at another nursery up in the Stevens Point area that had these a couple years ago, and it was July, I believe, July or August, and they were very bright and made me do a double take because it looked like the tree was actually flowering this bright red color. It's a shorter tree, so it's 15 to 18 feet tall, about the same width. It's a fairly fast growing species, so even if it's a smaller tree when you get it, it won't take real long for it to reach mature size. This one is also tolerant to sandy loam or clay soils. It'll do well in cities with the pollution and the salt. And the fall color on this one is a nice orangey red color. So it's kind of like that sugar maple fall color that you see around here. Hardiness on this one is a zone 3. We're going to try some more Japanese maple trees. The Isley Nursery sales rep that I have is trying to get me to get other ones besides just the Bloodgood and the Crimson Queen, which we will have again this year. This is a new one for us, not new to the market. It's a lot shorter, so it's 5 to 7 feet tall, 3 to 4 feet wide. Because it's a little bit shorter, and because Japanese maples tend to grow fairly slow here in Wisconsin due to our very short season, you could put this one in a large container if that's something that you wanted to do, and put it, by a garage or front door or something like that. The Koto no Ito name is said to actually mean harp strings because of how finely dissected the leaves are. So the right hand photo shows the fall color on it. It's a golden yellow. Otherwise, on the left hand side, it's kind of almost a minty green color instead of a darker green color. And this one does have that vase shape like the flowering dogwood also has. And with most Japanese maples, it is hardy to zone 5. So if you do put it in a container, make sure you bring it into your garage over the winter. Otherwise, some people I know have put burlap around their Japanese maples to help it through our winters, just in case we get that polar vortex that seems to want to keep coming back every year now. Another new one is Rhode Island Red. The Japanese maples I'm getting in this year are all going to be a little bit smaller, just because city lots are getting smaller, and they seem to be. And the sales rep said that they seem to be a little bit hardier than some of the larger ones, just because of their shorter stature. Sometimes the snow cover will keep them a little bit more insulated. So this one is 6 feet tall and 6 feet wide, more like a lollipop shape than that vase shape like the previous one. This one grows slow again because of our shortened season here in Wisconsin. But it does get the purple foliage in spring and summer, and then in the fall it changes to an orange for the fall color before it loses its leaves. And again, because it's a Japanese maple, it'll be a zone 5 here. And our third one that we're getting in this year is called Ruby Stars. The foliage on it is supposed to be a little bit thicker than some of the other Japanese maple leaves. Again, you can see the leaves will be kind of that reddish purple color when they first come out, and then in the fall it will change to an orange in October. A dwarf maple again, so 6 feet tall, only 3 feet wide. It could be another container plant if you wanted to grow it in a container, especially when it's younger. And then this one is full sun to part shade, whereas the other two are more of a part shade, 4 to 6 hours of sun a day. This one can handle just a little bit more sun than the other Japanese maple varieties. And this one is said to be a zone 5, but my sales rep said he is thinking it may actually be a 4B, just because of where they've been trialing it. It's been able to make it through some of the colder winters. So this one may be just a touch hardier than the other Japanese maples. Okay, I've had a couple for the past couple of years, I've had some customers asking for this tree. We're getting in 2 different types. This one is just the straight mountain ash, also known as the rowan tree. I actually had one of these trees planted as a street tree by my house when I was growing up, and the fruit on them will last through the winter. It'll persist through the winter, and then the robins would come and feed on the berries, and then they would get drunk. So then you have all these drunk robins hanging out on the sidewalks. It was actually kind of a funny sight to see. But the bark on these trees are kind of a coppery color, so you have that as almost a winter interest. And then you can see the flowers on the right hand side. That's the cluster of flowers that blooms in spring, right around the same time as the crabapple trees bloom. This one is about 20 to 30 feet tall, not quite as wide. It'll be 15 to 20 feet for width, and it has kind of a lollipop shape when it's a mature size. This one does not tolerate a wet site, so don't put it in an area if it's not going to get decent drainage on it. And in the summer, it'll have the green leaves, as you can see in the photo. In fall, it'll change to a yellow fall color before it falls off the trees. This one, the straight mountain ash, is hardy to zone 3. And then we have the Cardinal Royal, which is it has a little bit different growing habit. This one's more pyramidal, almost columnar in shape instead of that kind of lollipop shape of the straight mountain ash. This one is 30 to 35 feet tall, again 15 to 20 feet wide, but it does have more of a columnar growing habit to it. The main difference between this one and the previous one is the berries are more of a scarlet red instead of that orange color. But otherwise, for the most part, this tree is similar in all the aspects. Prefers full sun, doesn't like wet feet, and then the yellow fall color. Of course, it has the white flowers in spring before the berries come out too. This one also is hardy to zone 3. We have a Rose of Sharon in a tree form coming this year. Usually we just have them in the shrub form, but I figured we would try this and see if this is a good alternative for some people if they don't want something like a dwarf Korean lilac on a standard, or we have a lot of hydrangea trees coming in this year. This is another alternative where it will bloom later in the summer, typically July and August, and they bloom for quite a while. The one thing with this one is they don't leaf out right away in spring. They take a while just because of their tropical genetics that they have. So we have a lot of people that come to us in late April, early May, and they're like, my plant is dead, my Rose of Sharon died, I need a new one. And we always tell them to wait until Memorial Day because it sometimes takes that long, or right around June 1st, for it to leaf out in the spring. You can see the flowers on it are white with that red center, and there's quite a few of them. You can tell from the right hand photo, there's quite a few flowers once they get going, so you'll have a mass of flowers on it. This one, Red Heart, will get 5 to 6 feet tall and 5 to 6 feet wide, and just because it's the tree form, it'll be more like a lollipop tree. It doesn't really have a vase shape or a columnar shape to it. The fall color on this is yellow, so you'll get that kind of, it's not quite a golden yellow, it's more like a sunshine yellow color. And then the hardiness zone on these is a zone 5. I've had a few customers asking for this particular hawthorn as well, so I was able to find it from our suppliers this year. Crimson Cloud is a little bit taller than the thornless cockspur hawthorn. The leaves on this also are more of the kind of minty green color versus the dark green that the cockspur hawthorn has. And this one I think has prettier flowers because it has kind of a pinkish red color and then the white center. So you get that nice pop when the crabapple trees are blooming. This one will be 20 to 25 feet tall and 10 to 15 feet wide at maturity. It does take a while to get going, but once it's established, you'll see a moderate growth habit on there. So it won't be, it's not like an autumn blaze maple that'll fill in really quickly, but it's also not like a ginkgo that's going to take about 30 years for you to see any kind of measurable growth on it. This one is resistant to leaf blight, but it is a good thing to try and keep it away from any arborvitae that you have because it does have issues with leaf rust. So if you have an arborvitae nearby, those two are the two plants that the fungus needs in order to have a full life cycle. So as long as you can keep it away from any arborvitae, it shouldn't have too many issues with rust. And the hardiness zone on this one is a zone 4. A new Magnolia for us this year is Jane. This one's been around for quite a while, I would say. It's arriving in the middle of May, so probably after it's already done flowering. They typically bloom in late April here in Wisconsin. So they come out with these saucer-shaped the flowers on it. This one will be a lighter pink. And then once they're done blooming, then they leaf out. So you'll get the flowers before the leaves are on the plant. This one prefers partial shade. So if you can do morning sun with afternoon shade, that's best for it. I read that it actually tends to burn out if you put it in too much sun, or if you do morning shade and afternoon sun. It's also a warmer sun in the afternoon than it is in the morning, so you'll end up with burned leaves. The Jane magnolia is the most tolerant of all soil types. Again, with a lot of trees and shrubs, they tend to not like having wet feet. So this one is no exception. This one, as long as you can put it in a spot that has decent drainage, it'll be perfectly fine. And Jane magnolia is also a slower grower, so it'll be 8 to 12 inches of growth a year. So it's not, again, not like a ginkgo, but it's not going to be fast by any stretch. 10 to 15 feet tall and 10 to 15 feet wide is the mature size on this one. And this one is hardy to zone 4. And I've had many people asking for weeping mulberry trees. So I'm getting in a couple of them right away in the spring, and then I won't be able to get any more. So if you're interested in this one, it's best if you can come to the nursery right away when we open. We're not getting that many of them in. So it's best if you can get to us right away if you're interested in a weeping mulberry tree. This one you can grow any way that you want to. It takes pruning really well. So if you want to prune it up like the right-hand photo, go ahead and do that. Otherwise, if you just want to let it go, it's going to look like Cousin It, but some people like that look, so that's perfectly fine too. This one, 6 to 10 feet tall and typically 6 to 8 feet wide at maturity. Hardiness on this is a zone 4, and this one, it should be noted, is a fruitless variety, so you will not get those dark purple fruits on it. And then the last ornamental tree we have is rainbow pillar serviceberry. One of my favorite plants is the serviceberry. It's a native here in Wisconsin, so rainbow pillar is considered a native R. It's a native variety. Hardiness on this is zone 4. First you'll get in the spring, typically right around the same time as the magnolias are blooming, you'll get the white flowers, and then the leaves come out right around the same time. The white flowers, if pollinated, become the clusters of berries that the birds will literally pick off the tree as soon as they are done getting ripe, because they just love them, especially the cedar waxwings and the robins. And then in fall, you get this really nice orange-red fall color. Technically, serviceberries are full sun to full shade. They do best in full sun or part sun. You just won't see as much brilliant fall color if you plant it in more shade. And sometimes they'll have issues with powdery mildew in full shade that you won't see if you planted it in full sun or part sun. This one is tolerant of all soil types that we have here in Wisconsin, and has more of a columnar growing habit. So it's 15 to 20 feet tall, 8 to 10 feet wide. It's not quite as narrow as standing ovation, but I couldn't get standing ovation until later on in the summer. So this is one option if you have a little bit more space that you can give it 8 to 10 feet for width. I would recommend planting this one. And like I said, the birds just love the berries. I had a robin jumping from my sidewalk up to the fruits of the berries, and it would sit there for 5 minutes just picking the berries off of it, just to get them as soon as they were ripe. So that is all I have for today for ornamental trees. You can email us with any questions for anything in this presentation, knagreenhouse@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at either of those phone numbers. We're hoping to open this year on April 16th, which is a Friday. So we'll be open 7 days a week after that. You can stop by either one of our locations. And until then, keep thinking warm thoughts.